everybody who is joining us right now, and welcome to the Working Actor on Casting Workbook. It's been a while since we've been live, so welcome and thanks for joining us. Hope you guys are doing well. It's almost the weekend, and I always like to look forward to what's happening for the weekend. And if you are still at it as an actor and looking for ways on how you can perfect your skills, well, have I got a great guest on the Working Actor today. His name is Hart Massey from the Toronto Film School. He is the program director of the film school, and he does so much for students there so that they can perfect their craft as actors. So thanks for joining us, Hart.
Thank you so much for having me today. And I love that we're live.
Yeah, I love
And
that
you
we're
haven't done live in a while, so that's awesome too. I love
okay.
it.
I love being live as well because we get to
Yeah.
get a Q&A afterwards because a lot of people will have questions for you. So be prepared, okay?
Sweet.
All
Okay.
right. So Hart, I mean, aside from the Toronto Film School, you started off in this industry as an actor yourself. You've got
Yeah.
40 years of amazing experience under your belt, not only as an actor, a writer, a director, a producer, a teacher. So you know a lot about acting and you know a lot about the industry. So tell me a little bit about what it was about the industry that first attracted you to it.
Wow. It's hard to say 40 years because I'm not that old.
I know you're
Although
like,
maybe some people think maybe my students think I'm that old, but
no.
uh but I actually, yeah, I got started at 10. I was kind of probably an over hyperactive child, I would imagine, in the classroom. And I fell under the tutelage of this wonderful teacher in grade four, and Lori Ference. She's out there. I know she's taught a lot of actors, and she put on a play at their school. And little did I know that I actually had some acting chops and a bit of a singer as well. So
Oh.
the singing is actually what drew me into the industry. And I back then they had this Bay competition where you performed in a singing competition, and I won. And I ended up being performing at Ontario plays, and then I ended up in a couple of shows. You wouldn't believe it, at 10 years old, I was singing Just a Gigolo. That was my 10-year-old piece. And
Really?
and I ended up performing at the Limelight Dinner Theater at YPT, doing shows back in the mid 80s. And one of the things that I learned at that young age was getting up on stage and doing it night after night, day after day, because these shows would run for 6 months at a time. And so I learned a lot about the discipline of being an actor, about what it meant to get up, finish school, go to the theater, do a gig, go home and sleep, and then back at it again the next day at school and repeat. So that sort of taught me the discipline of no matter what happens, no matter what's going on in your life, you have to get up and perform. And I think that that's a major challenge for actors, is being able to push through some of the emotional things that were going on in our personal lives, and then being able to go up and really commit to something.
So you teach the Complete Actor. It's a training curriculum that has educated thousands of students.
Yeah.
What is it about the Complete Actor that teaches the students how to be disciplined?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I think with students, and we have a range of students. So, there are students that are coming straight out of high school, and some students that are just a couple of years out of high school. Some that have gone to university and have decided that suddenly they want to actually go for what they're really interested in and their real passion, which is acting. And then we have other people that are mid-career, or maybe have already gone through their careers and decide to come back and do something that they've always wanted to do. So I think there are shifting priorities when you look at people that are different age brackets. Certainly for the younger students, it's really getting them to understand that you have to show up, you have to be on time, and you have to come prepared. You have to know what you're working on. You have to understand the script. You have to understand not just your lines, but actually what's happening in the scene. Um, and getting them to understand that when you go home, you need to prepare for that. and not just show up ad hoc is a really important step for these younger actors to appreciate. Because I think a lot of young actors, they want to jump into the industry. They really want to be successful movie stars. We all do.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is that it's a daily grind, like any other job, like any other business out there. And you have to, you have to know your stuff. You have to really know the character, the relationship that you're working on. So you have to do that preparation work. So we have really, in our program, we're really strict about that. We have really strict kind of principles around being on time, not being late, being there, just those simple basic strategies so that at least they have that down, and then we get into the discipline of the work itself.
Now, obviously, this is all inspired and rooted from personal experience, I'm assuming,
Yeah,
because you
for
started
sure.
off as an actor, and I'm sure that you've gone through many challenges as an actor as you are going through it with your students. So, can you maybe tell us a little bit of those challenges that you went through while you were acting that you're incorporating into this curriculum so that people can be better actors?
Yeah. And I think like I should have answered like that's this concept of the complete actor is that one of the things I learned as an actor was I didn't feel comfortable relying on one aspect of my talent. Meaning if you're a great stage actor, that's phenomenal. And that's what I always wanted to be was a stage actor. But I had to evolve from there too. I had to understand that, to make a career, I needed to know more than just stage acting. I needed to know more than just voiceover. I felt like I needed to understand the entire gamut of the industry. And so in our program, what's unique is that every aspect of this industry comes into play at some point or other throughout the 18 months of training. So they're learning stage acting, they're learning camera acting, they're learning voice and voiceover work and movement work. They're learning clown and improv and comedy so that they get all these different skill sets, right? And then this other aspect was really based a lot on my own development and what I found allowed me to sustain myself, which was I had to learn how to write and produce and create. And so when I came out of acting school, I went to U of T. Um, I was a theater actor and I really wanted to get more television experience. And, you just don't break into TV that simple. And I think actors need to understand that it's not that easy to get into a room even with a casting director. So I went out and made it myself. And I was fortunate. My brother was a filmmaker. He had come out of a film program. And at that time, you didn't have YouTube, you didn't have social media. We were close, but there was a big change in the industry in that everything went digital. And so I realized, okay, well, we can make something with our skills. We could grab a camera, which we did from the Hart House Film Board, and start making pilots and making stuff ourselves, writing it, creating it, getting friends to help us work on it. And that spun out into our own cable show. And thankfully Rogers helped get us an audience. Like we didn't, that's a thing I think that a lot of us that's a big part of this is we need an audience. You don't act in a vacuum. You need an audience to watch you. So we had the chance to broadcast Heart of the Annex for a season. We did about 5 seasons of The Film Student. And from that, I learned how to write, produce, direct, get a show from scratch to finish. It was a monumental task because it was really just my brother and I doing this together. But wow, what a change it made in my career. And I wanted every one of my students to understand how to do that too.
Yeah.
And so that was the thing I went for with our program. I said, okay, I really admired the creator actor, the Sarah Paulies, the Don McKellars, people like that who went out and were terrific actors, but could also make the stuff themselves and direct it and write it. And that's what we aspire to do is make the creator actor while also training them how to be, fine actors for stage and screen.
I love that you said that because knowledge is power, right? And the more
Yeah.
you know about the industry and the more multidimensional that you are and that you learn all these skills, the more of an asset you become. So I love that you said that and how you showed your humble beginnings on getting into the industry and how you kind of just, touched on everything in the industry so that you became who you are today, which is fantastic. Um, my background is television and I knew that right off the get-go when I graduated from university that I was not going to get that TV gig in front of the camera, that I still had to do more work and I had just had to get my foot in the door and still prove myself. Do you find that the industry has changed at all since then? Do you find that we still have to work that hard or maybe even harder to get our foot in the door and show people that we can do this?
Oh, radically. It's radically changed. I mean, I come from the days where Sandy Newton, who was my agent as a child, would be mailing out our pictures, in the snail mail to get
Yeah.
to get to get them to the casting director's office. Now, it's a click of the button, and it has shifted things because I think because ultimately there's less of a barrier of entry in that respect.
Mm.
Agents can take on way more actors, right? Let's be honest.
Yep.
Now, with the way that shows are, the way the self-tape audition works, casting directors can see way more self-tapes and watch more or not watch them. I mean, that I have lots of conversations with casting directors about that. So you have to have a competitive edge today that's different, that's unique. Um, you I read a quote this morning that Ethan Hawke said something about being, maybe the word disgusted is disgusted with the fact that actors are being,
Yes.
cast on how many likes or fans or followers they have. And I get it, because it's tough that things are going in that direction, but that's a big thing. There's a lot of actors out there and there's a lot more work. Let's be honest. Way more production going on than back in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. There's a lot more opportunity for diverse actors, which is phenomenal.
Mm.
Um, I was part of groups that were trying to make that happen in the early 2000s, where we wanted to see more diversity on screen. Well, now we have it. So
Mhm.
that just widens the pool of people that are competing for the same work. And so that's more challenging today. The fact that you're not getting into a casting, I hear this a lot from actors, that we're not in the room with people who are giving us direction. I think that's a new challenge. So it's very different, entirely different. And I remember maybe 10 years ago revisiting that conversation with Sandy back in she said, in the 80s, it was like 1 in 25 you would get. Now the expectation is 1 in 50. And that was before COVID. So I don't know what it's like right now for actors, but
Yeah.
you have to stay strong. You have to remain positive. And the biggest skill you have is to create your own work. And that's why it's so important for actors to be versatile and open and be willing to try something maybe that you didn't think you were going to do. I never in my wildest dreams thought I would be a program director. And in many ways, I feel like I've had more influence doing this than I did as an actor.
Right. I love this conversation because you're keeping it real. And I think that sometimes you have to have those conversations where you don't sugarcoat anything and you let people know that, yeah, if you want this, you got to work hard on it and you've got to take the necessary steps in order to make it happen. I look back on my career and I'm like, I never wanted to, well, I didn't want to have a career as a weather presenter, but I knew that if I took that first step, it would lead and open doors to others, right? So we talked about being multidimensional, and I know that some actors are like, yeah, but I don't want to write, or I don't want to produce. I just want to be in front of the camera. What do you say to those actors who are kind of still, I guess, a little resistant to wanting to learn different aspects of the industry?
Yeah, that's cool that you were a weather person.
I
That's
could tell
pretty
you
cool.
about highs and lows and the jet stream and everything.
I mean, as a Canadian, I think we're all obsessed with the weather, so that's fun.
Especially this last week, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Um, honestly, we have this challenge come up all the time, and I have students that will write me personally and say, "Why am I having to do
Yeah.
this producing writing class? I don't want to hold the boom mic. I don't want to get behind a camera." My answer to that is I understand. I fully appreciate that it's not for everyone. My what I try to reinforce is it doesn't matter if this is something you will ever do for the rest of your life. And hopefully if you just want to be a film actor and it comes to you and you're successful at it, all the power to you, and that's great. But wouldn't it be wonderful to be a film actor who actually knows that you are a part of this big puzzle, that you understand how much work and effort goes behind the scenes in making that production? Making a movie is about a team. It's not about one actor. It's about the entire production and what it takes to get to the finished product. Is so having that appreciation, even if it's just to appreciate what goes on, phenomenal. Then at least you know that. But if there's that kernel of thought that you wanted to create something for yourself, or you wanted to put yourself in a role that you never had the chance to do, now you could do that at TFS. And it's interesting because as we get into AI, we're going to be even able to do that even more than we were even ever that we could ever possibly dream of. I mean, we'll be able to make our own animation series if we want. Students will be able to do that. So it's more important now than ever to be a creator.
Yes, I like that. If you're just joining us now, we are talking to Hart Massey from the Toronto Film School. He is the program director there, and he has educated so many students to go on to be really successful actors. Can you tell me a little bit about the hands-on experience that the students get with your program and how it prepares them for the real world of acting?
This is one of my favorite things about our school, and I think it's something I've learned from my own experience of going to acting school. Um, we're about the art of acting. You have to be, and we have to educate people on what it takes to be a truly a true artist in their craft. But there's this other side. I shouldn't say but, and there's this other side that's about the business and about understanding that this is a business like any other business. And you have to understand the landscape. You
Mhm.
have to understand what you're auditioning for, who the company is behind, the production. Um, and we have, I mean, I speak on behalf of 40 faculty members that work with me to educate these students. We have the best teachers. These teachers care deeply about their students' success, as do I, and really want to see students come out and work. And that's pivotal to our message. It's pivotal to our motto is we want people working in the field. And that's in every program at Toronto Film School, whether it be acting, film production, video games. We have all these different departments. But with the acting program specifically, it's bringing in these industry experts and teachers that know what the business is about, can share those experiences, and then illuminate the actor while they're learning how to perform. So we do a business class specifically at the end in which we bring in ACTRA, we bring in casting directors, we bring in talent agents to speak directly to them. And I have this wonderful story of one of my graduates, Gabriel Dark, who he graduated now a number of years ago, maybe 10 years ago or so. So Gabe and I had the fortunate experience to travel across Canada together because we were sort of recruiting and meeting students who were interested in coming to TFS because we have students coming from all across Canada, Vancouver and all the way out to Nova Scotia. And Gabe happened to come from Northwest Territories. And what was interesting to me is that he came in with this dream of being an actor, and he met David Ritchie from Ambition at a talking session, and had the foresight to go up and introduce himself. Which I think is another very important thing is this networking, like actually going up and talking and asking questions and being curious. And that sort of thing. So I talk a lot about that with students is be curious about things, ask questions, get to know people. So anyway, he met David and ends up signing with them, and then at a event at our school, and then goes on to get land a lead role in the series Reboot and October Faction, which is on
That's
Netflix. He was on
amazing.
American Gods. And this all started with, coming from a small town in the Northwest Territories. And, those stories are really important to us. But the best part was when we were traveling together, I said, "What did you get from TFS? Like, what did you find?" And he said, there was nothing I experienced graduating that I didn't already feel like I had experienced at Toronto Film School. I knew how to audition. I felt comfortable being on a movie set. I got it, and I think that that's incredibly important coming to our school.
That's amazing. And
Yeah,
I love the fact that you also introduce them to the people who like the decision makers in the
yeah,
industry, from ACTRA to the casting directors. But I mean, TFS is also globally known as one of the top film schools in Canada and abroad. And you guys have partnerships with TIFF and Sony Canada. So how do these partnerships benefit the students who take the courses?
So yeah, we just signed a huge deal with Sony, and we a purchase of $2.5 million worth of film equipment,
Oh, wow.
which is massive because it ups the game in terms of every student that gets into the program they get to actually get their hands on major film equipment. I mean, we have, the acting students as well actually come in and are able to actually work with equipment in terms of like very high-end gear because we have the Arri Alexa now, which is shooting shows like Stranger Things. They are actually getting access to that technology, especially in the film production department. But actors are getting to act on this kind of equipment as well. So the fact that we have that in our school is massive for their development. Um, we also have a tremendous partnership with Sony because of this, and they're actively involved in supporting our students with the technology. But on top of that, with TIFF, now we're getting with this partnership. We have our film festival screening at TIFF Lightbox. So when our students, we do one screening a year with all the best films of the year that are produced at Toronto Film School, and the best ones get selected for this screening at TIFF. Well, not at the festival, but at TIFF Lightbox. We have a great industry party. We bring out great connections to this event who are presenters, judges. So that's an amazing experience. And on top of that, we have our students going out and they're invited to multiple events at TIFF, and I've gone to some of them as well. And they get opportunities to meet people and network in places where they, as you say, get to meet the stakeholders, right, of the industry.
Yeah,
And our president is Andrew Barnsley, who's the executive producer of Schitt's Creek. So to have that as your president, I think is a model for like the kind of institution that we are, right?
okay, so how difficult is it to get into the Toronto School? Because this sounds like a no-brainer for any actor who wants to take these courses. I know it's an 18-month hands-on practical learning course, but I mean, what's the criteria to get in, and how does someone go about wanting to, be a student?
Well, they end up inevitably auditioning for me.
So everybody watching right now, that's the guy.
Yes,
This is the guy.
yes. Yes. Although we won't actually meet in the audition because I do everything is an online submission. That way we have access to people all over the place that can submit auditions. And we've literally had, thousands of students from internationally and within Canada. But you apply through the school, there'll be an advisor who reaches out to you. And then once you develop that relationship with the advisor, you'll send in your audition tape. And typically what I'm looking for is a video about you. And I want to understand who you are and, be real, just like we are today, just be real about what inspires you. Don't have it written on a piece of paper and read it. Like just speak to the video. It also gives me a sense of who you are as a person, what interests you, what actors inspired you, what movies inspired you, what experience you've had. And then they're going to do a monologue And choose a monologue that's appropriate, right? Like something that you're interested in and something that a character that you like playing. And then they submit this package in, and then I'll watch it, and then they get accepted or not. And if they don't, sometimes I think it's just a question of, maybe needing a little bit more experience or an understanding of acting, but and maybe try again. But we love educating students, and we want to build this industry with really knowledgeable, credible, and ethical people,
Yeah, I'm looking through the outline of the course right now, and I just think it's phenomenal. It's kind of like the Fame School, that was always my dream, Juilliard in New York, Fame School, right? But I'm like, look at this. I mean, you get camera training to be prepared for auditions and the challenges of set work. You get to learn how to write, produce, direct, create your own short films. You also have demo reels, goals to help prep the students for creative aspects and also the business at large, and so much more. And like you said, you get to network with people in the
Yeah.
industry. So you've seen so many students, and I'm assuming that you have perhaps just a list or maybe a little bit of pointers as to what you see some students continue to do incorrectly. Am I right?
Yeah, I wanted to add to that
Okay.
theater side of our program. I'm a theater guy, and I'm at the heart of every actor, there's theater,
Yeah,
and
you're
it's the
right.
mother of acting. And we also do a stage play. So on top of doing all of this acting work and voiceover work, you actually, as a group, come up together. We hire a professional director to come in and direct you, and you'll do it in a theater in downtown Toronto, in a professional context, so that they get that experience of being live on stage, and they'll end up doing 3 shows. So that's another great opportunity as well if you're interested in theater. Um, I highly recommend it. And I find so many actors come to our school with the intention of being film actors, and they want to do that when they leave. But boy, do they fall in love with theater once they start working on it.
What's not to love about
Right.
theater? I mean, it's in the moment, right? And I also feel
Totally.
that it tests the actors very differently, tests their strengths very differently, because it's not like you're reading one page at a time. You're going through the entire thing on stage. There's no stopping. Whereas when you're auditioning or going through a film or a television series, you're just kind of like you take one scene and then you stop and you redo it. So
Yeah, and coming off stage in a theater show too, like you're walking off stage and the audience's reaction is right there for you. You know exactly what's working. You could fine tune that. You know where jokes land or they don't, or what's impacting them. For television and film, and I started to experience this more with Heart of the Annex. It was sort of like I would walk outside and it would be like, "Hey, I love your show." You didn't really have that direct connection with them until you would actually someone would approach you about it, because you didn't know who your audience
right.
was. So there's that difference too. It's more about the set work and the work that you're doing in that moment. In terms of mistakes, I honestly, I think I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. I think look, there's a lot that they need to learn in the process of 18 months. A lot of the actors are, when they start, are presentational. I would call it. They come in, they sort of go on instinct. They don't really actually understand an approach to the work. So I think that that's and we teach the Stanislavski method. I know a lot of people bring in the Meisner technique into the experience as well, to drive them towards an approach to the work, right? And that's really just, I mean, that's really heavy and deep, probably the next conversation. But I think the aspect of the mistakes actors make as they're getting towards graduation is like not really understanding that this business side of things, and not really appreciating that if you have a clothing store, which I did at one point in my life, opening the door doesn't mean everybody arrives, right?
Oh,
I mean, as you know,
yes.
you got to know your business, you got to know your experience, you got to know your craft, you got to know who you are. You have to appreciate that the way that you perceive yourself isn't necessarily the way others perceive you. You know what
Sorry,
I mean?
I'm the crazy cat lady right
That's
now.
okay.
Sorry about that. So unprofessional. Get out of here. See,
Oh, don't worry about
he's
it.
trying to steal the spotlight here. He's trying to audition for you.
Yeah, I know. That's why, as I was saying, I had to shut my dog into another room before we started.
He's trying to
I,
audition for you. What's your advice? We're going to go to the Q&A right now, but what
yeah.
is your advice to people who are wanting to start now? Are you like, what is the difference from attending the Toronto Film School or just going to a regular school and just trying to nail this world of acting on your
Yeah.
own with an agent? What are the benefits of taking this classes as someone who wouldn't take the class?
Yeah. I think there's a huge benefit. Like, and I could speak from my own experience of
Sure.
when I started out as a child actor and in my teens, I was going on instinct. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't really understand what an audition, what it took to really land an audition. And when you're young, it's easy to do that. But as I got into it, I learned a lot more and I understood an approach to the work. And I think that that's a big thing. I think it's understanding an approach. And then once you do, it's like you feel a lot more confident and secure in going out and auditioning and meeting an agent. Like we've had some experiences in our program, and I literally had to make changes in curriculum because students would come in, they would be halfway through the program, and they're, okay, I'm ready. I got to go get an agent. And they would, and they'd bomb their opportunity
Mm,
simply because they didn't know how to do a self tape. They didn't know how to position themselves with the camera. They didn't, and then, so you might have a quality and you might have a look that an agent's appreciating and think that they could sell. But at the end of it, you have to bring your A game. You have to know like how to perform when you do get that audition because you may not get that chance again. So I'm personally a believer that going to school reinforces and gives you that knowledge. If you opt not to go to school, and then lots of people, do that, you better ask a lot of questions.
mhm.
And you're going to need to fall under some sort of mentorship where someone can give you the advice and guidance that you need because you'll need it as you try to navigate this industry. Whereas I find people who come through our school, like this story I told you, like they feel like they already understand it when they get in there.
Yeah.
So it's an 18-month commitment, but that's a fast track, I think, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's so I find it such a benefit and such an asset to the longevity of your career, right? I
Yeah.
have a question from Nikki. Nikki is saying she's going to be visiting Toronto, and she was just wondering if anybody were to visit, are there any opportunities to observe the school, come and maybe sit in on a class and see how it works?
I'm really in, I don't allow for auditing of classes. And it really is because when you get into a space where the actors are working, it's a vulnerable place. It's like they're giving a lot emotionally within a class.
Mhm.
So to have people dropping in and out, I think is sort of infringes on the work. What we do have every single 4 times a year is we do a showcase week. So 4 times a year, you could come in. It's sort of towards the end of March, the end of June. It's like third week of March, third week of June, third week of September, third week of December. We put on showcases and showings throughout our studios of all the various classes that are going on. So we'll open that up to the public. Anyone's welcome to come and see it. And then we put on these free plays. They're free to attend in Toronto theaters. We have one coming up in the end of March. We have 2 plays coming up. We have 2 groups that are doing shows at 918 Bathurst. I think it's March 19, 20, and 21st. Free to attend. And then you can see all the great work as it's done. You won't be in the classroom watching the teacher teach. That's we keep that as sort of a private environment, but we show the work that we present, that they've been working on. So please come and check it out. I always try to promote those to come and see.
All right, oh, that's fabulous. So I always like to ask the questions. I mean, obviously, there's so many students that have gone through the Toronto Film School. Can you tell us of any success stories that you're really proud of?
I'm actually really excited because tomorrow I'm going to be at, I think it's at Cineplex at Yonge and Dundas, and we're doing a presentation of the film Morningside, which is a film about the Scarborough community. And one of the lead actors in it is Orville Wallace. And I'm so proud of Orville. He's had such a great career so far. He was one of the leads on Star Trek. And now is in the, and he does a lot of independent films and is doing this film that's being released shortly. And I'm going to be hosting a Q&A tomorrow. So people can email the school and find out about that if they can get in touch with someone that could provide them the information if they want to attend this screening. Orville's had a terrific start to his career. I've talked about Gabe. I just saw Michaela Brasseur at TIFF recently, and she was telling me she's on Shoresy. I see people on commercials anytime I'm watching a hockey game or a baseball game or something. There's a TFS actor in a commercial. Um, and there's been also lots of great stories of students of mine that people wouldn't know that are making their own work, producing their own films. And I love seeing that. I love when actors go out and make films and get their work into various festivals around the country or in the States.
Yeah, it must be so gratifying, especially, I ask casting directors all the time, what's it like when they're sitting in a theater and they're watching a film that they cast, right? What's it like for you as the program director to see your students go off and become successful working actors?
Oh, it's thrilling. It's thrilling. Anytime you get into education, it's about them. It's all about the students. It's not, and so their success is my success, right? And that's a big part of it, people who want to be teachers. And I know there's a lot of actors who are probably watching this that have thought, do I want to teach acting?
Yeah.
Because we're great presenters and we have, we understand chemistry and the most important thing to being a great teacher is really appreciating what the talent of the student and wanting, it's all about them. It's about their success.
Jenna has a question. She's just
Yeah.
wondering, is the program mostly for people of a certain age, or if you've already done years of acting, so you've already been at this, is this something that would be beneficial to somebody who's already, I guess, an established or a professional actor?
Yeah. It's a pretty significant commitment for an established actor. Um, as we all know as actors, that training is forever. I mean, you can always be growing in your skill sets, and actors are lifetime learners, I find. So if you feel like you want to increase your skill sets, you want to actually make films. This is an opportunity to do that for sure. Um, you might find yourself a little bit ahead of a number of the students that are in the program because you are getting people who are startups, right? That are right out of school. I would say the majority of it falls in that 18 to 25 category. And then there's subsections of students who are in their 30s, 40s. I've had students in their 60s start. However, they're coming from people who have not been in the industry, right? They're looking for a way in.
Right.
But I'm happy to talk more with any student that wants to ask me questions about that.
All right. Well, Hart Massey, we're so happy that you made time for us. Thank you for being such a big supporter of Casting Workbooks family and the working actor. And we'd love having you here on the show. We'd love to have you back again. So that's been Hart Massey of the Toronto
Thank
Film
you so
School.
much.
Thank you so much for lending your valuable time to us, and congratulations on all the success with the Toronto Film School.
Thanks so much, Natasha. Great chatting with you
That
too.
was fun. Thank you. Sorry
Yeah.
for my cat over there,
Oh,
but
don't worry. I'll bring mine next time. We can both have our
okay.
cats in our arms
There
as we're
you
talking.
go. Maybe you can cast him in something. I don't know. Everybody who
Okay.
is tuning into The Working Actor, this has been another episode. Hope you guys have a great week and a great weekend, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.